The friendly divorce that backfired spectacularly. When my wife asked for a friendly divorce, I knew she was playing games. But what I discovered 3 days later changed everything. She wasn't just leaving me, she was following a step-by-step plan her divorce coach had given her. A plan that involved keeping me as her emotional support ex-husband, while she auditioned replacements. What happened when I turned her own strategy against her was better than any revenge I could have planned. If you're into honest stories about relationships, trust, and betrayal, hit that follow button. You won't want to miss the next one. The conversation happened on a Tuesday evening in our kitchen. We'd been married for 8 years, and for the past 6 months, something had felt off. She'd been distant, distracted, spending more time on her phone than talking to me. But I figured it was just a rough patch. Every marriage has them, right? She sat me down with this rehearsed expression of concern and started talking about how we'd grown apart, and how she needed space to find herself. The whole speech sounded like it had been practiced in front of a mirror. "I think we should get divorced," she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "But I want it to be friendly. We can stay close, support each other through this transition. I still care about you so much." Friendly divorce. Those 2 words told me everything I needed to know. When a woman asks for a friendly divorce, she's not being kind. She's being strategic. She wants to keep you around as her safety net while she explores her options. The friendly part is insurance. If her new adventures don't work out, she's got a familiar backup plan waiting at home. I sat there listening to her explain how we could remain friends and how important our connection was, and honestly, I wanted to laugh. She was trying to have her cake and eat it too. Instead of arguing or begging her to reconsider like she probably expected, I looked her straight in the eye and said, "All right, let's do it." The color drained from her face. She clearly wasn't expecting me to agree so quickly and calmly. "Wait," she said, suddenly backtracking. "Don't you want to talk about this more? Maybe we should try counseling first." But I was already done. If she wanted out, she was getting out. No drama, no pleading, no making a fool of myself trying to change her mind. "You've obviously thought this through," I said. "I respect your decision. Let's make it as smooth as possible." That night, I lay in bed thinking about her choice of words. Friendly divorce. Stay close. Support each other. It all sounded so reasonable on the surface, but I could see the manipulation underneath. 3 days later, I discovered something that changed everything. I was helping her pack some things to move to her temporary apartment when I saw a notebook on her nightstand. The cover said, "Life Transitions Coaching," and curiosity got the better of me.
What I found inside made my blood boil.
It was a step-by-step guide for something called strategic separation. The notebook was filled with her handwriting, copying down strategies from what was clearly a divorce coach. And not just any divorce coach, someone who specialized in helping women maximize their outcomes during separation. The plan was laid out in meticulous detail. Phase 1. Request a friendly separation to avoid triggering defensive behavior in the spouse. Phase 2. Maintain emotional connection while establishing physical and financial independence. Phase 3. Explore new relationship options while keeping the original spouse as emotional support. Phase 4. Make final decision based on success of new relationships and financial security analysis. There were even scripts for conversations. Phrases like "I still care about you so much," and "our friendship is so important to me" were written out word for word, the exact things she'd said to me. But the most infuriating part was a section titled, "Managing the Ex-Husband During Transition." It included strategies for keeping me emotionally invested without giving me false hope, ways to ensure I'd be available for support when she needed it, and techniques for preventing me from moving on too quickly.
I was her transition plan. Her safety net.
Her backup option while she went shopping for something better. I photographed every page of that notebook before putting it back exactly where I'd found it. Then I went home and started planning my own strategy. If she wanted to play games, I could play games too. But I played to win. The next morning, I called a lawyer, Not the one she'd suggested we use together for our amicable divorce, but a shark I'd found through my own research. I explained the situation and showed him the photos of her notebook.
He whistled low. This is strategic divorce planning.
She's been coached on how to manipulate the process to her advantage.
The good news is, now you know what you're dealing with.
We spent the next 2 hours mapping out my counter-strategy. While she was following her coach's playbook, I'd be 3 steps ahead of every move. The lawyer filed papers that same day, requesting a much faster timeline than the lengthy friendly process she'd probably envisioned. No 6-month separation period.
No gradual transition. Clean, quick, and final.
When she got served the papers at work, she called me immediately.
What is this? She demanded.
We agreed on a friendly divorce. This isn't what we discussed. Actually, this is exactly what you asked for, I said calmly.
You wanted a divorce. I'm giving you one.
But we were going to work together on this.
Take our time.
Make sure we both felt good about the process. I feel great about the process. The faster we get this done, the faster you can focus on finding yourself. I could hear the panic in her voice. This wasn't going according to her carefully laid plans. Over the next week, she tried every manipulation tactic from her notebook. She suggested coffee meetings to talk through things. She texted me about random memories, trying to trigger emotional responses. She even offered to help me find a new apartment, probably hoping to control where I lived. I kept my responses short, businesslike, and focused only on the divorce proceedings.
No emotional engagement. No friendly chats.
No playing along with her transition strategy. This drove her crazy. You're being so cold, she complained during one phone call. This isn't like you. How would you know what I'm like? I asked. According to your coach's notebook, I'm just a safety net you're keeping around while you explore other options. The silence on the other end told me everything I needed to know. She hadn't expected me to find her little manual. You went through my personal things? She finally said, trying to sound offended. Your personal things were sitting on the nightstand in our shared bedroom. But I'm glad I saw them. It helped me understand exactly what kind of game you've been playing. She tried to deny it, then minimize it, then explain it away. But I wasn't buying any of it. The friendly divorce is off the table, I said. You want to follow your coach's strategy? Fine. But I'm not playing the role of the naive ex-husband who hangs around for emotional support. While she was scrambling to adjust her plans, I was executing mine. I'd already started dating. Not revenge dating or trying to make her jealous, strategic dating with someone I'd had my eye on for months. Rebecca worked in the same office building as me, and we'd always had good conversations in the elevator and coffee shop. She was smart, funny, and refreshingly direct about what she wanted. I asked her out the day after I found the notebook. She said yes immediately. I wondered when you were going to ask, she said with a smile. I heard about your separation through the office gossip mill. I hope that's not too forward, but I always thought you could do better. Our first date turned into a 4-hour conversation over dinner. She was everything my wife wasn't: attentive, genuinely interested in my thoughts, and completely present during our time together. No phone checking, no distant looks, no feeling like I was competing for her attention. By the second week, we were seeing each other regularly. By the third week, she'd met some of my friends. By the fourth week, we were officially a couple. Meanwhile, my wife was still trying to maintain her transition strategy. She'd text me about her day, suggest we grab lunch, and ask how I was handling everything. Each time, I kept my responses minimal and professional. What really frustrated her was my attitude. I wasn't devastated. I wasn't falling apart. I was handling the divorce like a business transaction, while clearly moving on with my life. You seem really okay with all this, she'd say, fishing for some kind of emotional reaction. Why wouldn't I be? You wanted this. Through mutual friends, I learned she was busy following the rest of her coach's playbook. She'd been seen with at least 3 different guys, including one who'd been circling our marriage for the past year. So much for finding herself. The contrast was obvious to everyone who knew us. While she was playing the field and trying to maintain her emotional hold on me, I was building something real with someone who actually wanted to be there. By the time our divorce was finalized, 6 weeks instead of the months-long process she'd envisioned, Rebecca and I were talking about moving in together. The final hearing was beautiful in its simplicity. We signed papers, shook the lawyer's hands, and walked away. No drama, no last-minute emotional appeals, no begging me to reconsider our friendship. But my ex-wife's face told a different story. She kept looking at me like she was waiting for me to break down or ask her to come back. When I just gathered my papers and headed for the door, I could see the panic setting in. Her safety net was gone. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, Rebecca and I made our relationship public. We'd been discreet during the divorce process, but now there was no reason to hide. We started attending social events together, and I introduced her to friends and colleagues. The reaction was overwhelmingly positive. People seemed genuinely happy to see me with someone who treated me well. Several friends mentioned they'd never understood what I'd seen in my ex-wife, and they were glad I'd found someone who appreciated me. Word traveled fast in our social circle. By the end of the week, I was getting calls from mutual friends telling me my ex-wife was asking questions about Rebecca and our relationship. Apparently, she hadn't expected me to move on so quickly or so successfully. The explosion came at a mutual friend's birthday party. I debated whether to go, knowing she'd be there, but Rebecca convinced me we shouldn't change our plans because of my ex-wife's discomfort. We walked in together, and I could feel my ex-wife's eyes on us immediately. She was across the room with one of her new boyfriends, but she couldn't stop staring. Rebecca handled it perfectly. She was warm and friendly to everyone, including a polite but distant greeting to my ex-wife. No drama, no territorial behavior, just confidence and class. For the first hour, my ex-wife maintained some composure. But I could see her getting agitated as she watched Rebecca and me interact naturally with our friends. We looked like a real couple, comfortable, happy, and genuinely enjoying each other's company. The breaking point came when someone complimented Rebecca and mentioned how good we looked together. My ex-wife had been drinking, and her filter finally disappeared. She stormed over to where we were standing and confronted us directly. "This is really inappropriate," she announced loudly, causing nearby conversations to stop. "You couldn't even wait until our divorce was final before flaunting your new relationship?" I kept my voice calm. "Our divorce has been final for 2 weeks. What exactly is inappropriate about 2 single adults dating?" "Single?" she practically shrieked. "We were married for 8 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" That's when I decided to end this once and for all. "You're right," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. 8 years did mean something to me. It meant enough that when you asked for a divorce, I thought you were serious. It meant enough that I didn't play games or try to keep you as a backup plan while I explored other options. The room had gone quiet. Everyone was listening now. "You wanted a friendly divorce so you could have your freedom while keeping me on standby. You had a whole strategy mapped out by your divorce coach. But that's not friendship, that's manipulation." She tried to interrupt, but I wasn't finished. "You got exactly what you asked for. Complete freedom to find yourself and explore whatever relationships you wanted. I just decided to take the same freedom for myself." The silence that followed was deafening. You could see people processing what I'd said, understanding the real dynamic that had been playing out. My ex-wife looked around the room, probably hoping someone would come to her defense, but everyone just stared. The truth was out there now, and it wasn't flattering. "This isn't over," she said, pointing at me with a shaking finger. "Actually, it is," I replied calmly. "You ended it when you asked for the divorce. Everything that's happened since then has been your choice. Own it." She stormed out, leaving her confused boyfriend to follow awkwardly behind her. The party continued, but I could hear the murmurs starting. By tomorrow, everyone would know exactly what had happened and why. Rebecca squeezed my hand supportively.
Feel better? She asked. Much better.
No more games, no more manipulation.
Just the truth.
The next day, I made the final moves to close this chapter permanently. I blocked my ex-wife's number and all her social media accounts. If she needed to communicate about something truly necessary, she could go through our lawyers. I also went through my contact list and removed anyone who'd been playing both sides, feeding information to her while pretending to support me. There were several mutual friends who thought they were being diplomatic, but they were actually enabling her manipulative behavior. Rebecca and I also decided to take a vacation together. Nothing dramatic, just a week at a beach resort where we could relax and plan our future without any interference from my past. On the plane, she asked me if I had any regrets about how things had played out. I thought about it for a moment. Did I regret the marriage? Not entirely. It had taught me what I didn't want in a partner.
Did I regret how it ended? Not at all.
She'd shown me who she really was, and I'd responded accordingly. No regrets, I said honestly. She wanted to play strategic games with our relationship, and she lost. That's not my fault. 3 months later, I heard through the grapevine that my ex-wife was struggling. The guys she'd been dating weren't interested in anything serious. Turns out men who pursue freshly divorced women often aren't looking for commitment. Her divorce coach's strategy had backfired completely. She'd wanted to keep her options open while maintaining me as emotional support. Instead, she'd pushed me into the arms of someone who actually valued what I brought to the table, and she was left with nothing but the freedom she'd claimed to want. Rebecca and I moved in together after 6 months. A year later, we got engaged. 2 years after that, we had the wedding my ex-wife had probably thought she'd eventually get, but with someone who actually wanted to be there. The lesson was crystal clear. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. My ex-wife showed me she valued strategy over sincerity, freedom over commitment, and manipulation over genuine connection. I gave her exactly what she asked for, just not in the way she'd planned. The friendly divorce had been designed to give her control over the narrative and the timeline. Instead, it gave me clarity about what I deserved and the motivation to find it elsewhere. Rebecca often jokes that she should send my ex-wife a thank you card for being so transparent about her manipulations. If she'd been more subtle, if she hadn't left that notebook out, if she'd actually tried to work on our marriage instead of strategizing how to leave it, I might never have realized what real partnership looks like. Now I wake up every morning next to someone who chose me not as a backup plan or safety net, but as her first choice. Someone who doesn't need a coach to tell her how to treat the person she loves. My ex-wife's strategic divorce plan had one major flaw: it assumed I'd play the role she'd assigned me. The naive ex-husband who'd wait around for crumbs of attention while she explored better options.
She was wrong.
Sometimes the best revenge isn't planning elaborate payback schemes. Sometimes it's just living well, choosing better, and letting the manipulator live with the consequences of their choices. The friendly divorce gave her exactly what she thought she wanted. She got her freedom, her space to find herself, and the opportunity to explore every option available. What she didn't get was me. And by the time she realized that was the only thing she actually wanted, I was already gone. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy.
Feel free to click on them.
I'll be waiting for you in the next story.
See you soon.